Right. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. Charleston here.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, I can hear you now. All right. How's everyone doing? Everyone feeling okay? Everyone feeling okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Anything anyone want to share today? Any big successes? Any big surprises, big disappointments that we want to talk about?
I can talk about one I had yesterday. Charleston here.
All right, Charleston, go ahead.
A few weeks back, I was sending out some emails to a friend of mine. She was looking for a job in New Jersey. So I sent it to another friend, and she never replied. So I was like, okay, whatever, So yesterday I got a call from her, and as the call was coming in, I was like, why is she calling me now? Because I sent her the jobs last week or whatever. And then she called me and told me that she's in New Jersey and she wanted to sell her house. So I'm connecting someone in the KLM office in I think it's in New Brunswick to help her out with that deal.
All right, I'm glad you brought that up, Charleston. Thank you. I got a couple points to make on that I think will benefit everyone. So here's the deal with referrals. Let's talk about referrals for a quick second. Actually, let's talk about one thing first. I want you guys all to get comfortable with the idea that you're going to do some work, right? You're going to send out an email, you're going to send out a text message, you're going to send out a video, and nobody, and they may not respond. Okay, there's actually a really good chance that they won't respond. Okay, so you spend all this time making a video telling people about this open house or this new listing that you took or whatever it may be, and then you want the world to tell you that how awesome it is. And the issue is that you can't get hung up on that because people are busy. They may not comment, but they saw it, or they may totally ignore it, and then later on something like what just happened with you, Charleston, happens. 3 weeks later, they got the message. You thought they ignored it. Meanwhile, now you get an opportunity. So my point is that I don't want you to get too caught up in whether they give you an immediate reaction or response. Let's just continue to do the work and keep a positive attitude about it. So good work on that. My additional point I want to make is about how to give a referral. Okay, so let's just summarize what Charleston was faced with here. Charleston had an opportunity where he was in relationship with somebody who had a property to sell. It was not in our area, it was in New Jersey. And Charleston, just like any of us, could refer that opportunity to a real estate agent in New Jersey to work. Okay, so here's what I explained to Charleston on how to deal with that. The first thing you need to do is find out exactly what they're looking for, you need to find out exactly where they're looking. What part of New Jersey are you looking in? Because we want to identify a real estate agent that is proficient in that specific area. Okay. The next thing that we want to do is, this is just what I was in the habit of doing when I had the opportunity. Okay. I chose, if I could, to refer it to a Keller Williams agent. What I mean, if I could, is there are parts of the country that don't have a nearby Keller Williams office, right? If I was in a situation where I had to refer a piece of business to an area that there was not a Keller Williams office, I would just Google that real estate and figure out who the big players in that area were. If it happened to be Coldwell Banker or Remax or Century 21 or whoever, I'd go to that company. The reason why I liked Keller Williams, and obviously still do, is because I know that we have the same value system. I know that we prioritize the customer. I know that we are well trained. I know that we have access to the best technology, right? These kind of things. And if I can partner with a firm like that and an agent like that, I know my prospect will be in good hands. Okay. So I would call the team leader of that office. You can go to kw.com, and at the very bottom, I believe there's a link that says search for offices, and you can type into the mapping feature what is the city that they live in, right? And it'll pull up nearby Keller Williams offices. So I got into the habit of calling the team leader and saying, hey, this is Bill Linkwald. I work in Roswell, Georgia, which is just outside of Atlanta. And I have a potential referral for one of your agents in your office. So I've got just a couple of questions for you. And I know a lot of the people on the call are relatively new, but I would say to them, I would like somebody that is a top performer. I want somebody that's on the ALC, right? Agent Leadership Council. I want somebody that's either in Bold or has been to Bold. So what am I asking for? When I ask for those things, what am I asking for?
Someone who's experienced.
Yep. What else?
The right type of training, and that is not gonna do a really good job of selling that house, I guess, or taking care of that client.
Exactly. So the reason why I said ALC is that means they're a leader in the office and they're giving back when they don't have to, right? It just separates the type of personality to some degree, right? And Bold is an opportunity for you to invest in yourself to, Bold's not free. Bold is how seriously do I take my business, right? I know it costs money. So do a lot of things that you're going to invest in to grow your business. Okay. I was reading, I'm finishing Hold right now. I have a few pages left. Hold is one of the books in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent series. And they have a really good line, and it actually is in reference to property management, but I think it will resonate with all of us here. It says, hang on. If you treat it like a hobby, then it will pay you like a hobby. Right? And if you treat it like a business, then you'll be a lot more satisfied with the results you get. Okay? So what I mean by that is, this is not a pitch for Bold. We're not launching Bold right now, right? Thank God I won't have to lead that charge anymore. However, I want to let you know that when somebody pays for something, right? When somebody hops on a plane and buys an airline ticket to go to family reunion, I think that they consider they have a different mindset around their business. Okay. So with that said, that's the type of person I'm looking for. So I would say, can you please connect me with one of those agents or give me a couple of names? So the team leader will give you a couple of names, and you call them and say, hey, I got a great family that's looking to sell their home in North Brunswick, New Jersey. And I just wanted to chat with you a little bit about that opportunity. Can you tell me a little bit about your business? Right? And you get give them a couple seconds to describe their business. And then you might say something to the effect of, okay, great. I'm going to connect you with the person. I'll send you their contact information now, and I'll be sending over a broker-to-broker referral form. The broker-to-broker referral form is something that can be found in Dotloop or DocuSign, and it clarifies how much money is paid to you when the deal closes. That percentage is negotiable, but it generally is around 25%. So you would say, Heather just wanted to double check that you would be willing to pay a referral fee of 25%. And they'll say, yeah, no problem. You say, great, I'll send you over the paperwork.
I wanted to add to that, when you take Bold and you're in the Bold group, agents constantly jump on the Bold group and ask, hey, I need an agent, a Bold graduate in whatever state it is. So I am currently one of my graduates that came from the Bold group and graduate.
Breaking up. Sorry.
Everybody's working from home today. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
No, you were just like in and out. Not that you were.
says that
noisy
my
over there.
connection is low, but I got all my kids home and 3 people are working from the internet right now in my house.
It's okay. We're all figuring this stuff out.
Yeah.
So one of my deals that I have right now is a referral from a Bold graduate in Georgia as well, in Savannah. So when you do Bold and then you get put in the Bold group, then people jump in there and they want to do Bold referrals to Bold graduates. That's another way that helps you.
Exactly. Did you guys hear that?
Yep.
Can our mics if we're not talking because other people's stuff is in.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Okay, I just muted everybody, and then you can unmute yourself when you want to talk. Okay. Okay. So, Sade, I think you were trying to say something. Do you want to unmute yourself and say it?
No, I was asking if we could mute our mics because we couldn't
Oh, gotcha.
really hear Heather, and it wasn't her mic. It was everybody else interfering. I couldn't hear you, Heather. Can you say what you were saying?
Heather, do you want to say that one more time?
So what I was thinking is I did Bold last year. When you graduate Bold, when you get into Bold, there's a Bold Facebook group. And then people, all Bold graduates are in there. And then what they do is they constantly jump on the group and they're like, hey, I'm looking for a Bold graduate to give a referral to at such and such a state. So I currently am working on a deal that I got through that group. The agent is a Bold graduate from Savannah. And I got those, so he's representing the sale. I'm representing their buy here in Woodstock. And he'll make 25%. I think I'm paying him out of this commission. And, you know, I mean, it was like really easy. It was, but I was a Bold graduate. I told him, listen, you know, I'm not an ALC member. I know Bill likes to preach that, but I always feel bad for the guy on the bottom of the totem pole. But I did say, like, I will work my best and get your clients under contract. And I did exactly that.
Yeah, and just because I preach it doesn't mean that you don't need to bring up objections, right? If they don't ask you, don't bring it up. Right.
But a lot of people do say, oh, I'm looking for an ALC or who do you know? And I find it a little frustrating if I could be candid right now. Like, I know Andy Peters is a bomb, but if I could tell you how many times I see people go, oh, the Peters Company, and then the lower people, we lose out because we can't even compete with the Peters Company. So from my end, and I would assure you probably from your end, at some point you'd be frustrated by that. But it doesn't mean that you'll lose.
It doesn't mean that you'll lose. That's correct. And what do you know, whether they are advertising the Peters Company on that thread or not, they still know it, right? So if they were to top it, it's still, the information is out there, right? If they were to type in, you know, top Atlanta real estate teams by volume or units or something like that, they would see your name's not at the top of the list. However, if you're willing to do something that is outside of what the Peters happen to do, right? Maybe you send the person a direct link or a direct message that says, hey, I love that area and I'd love an opportunity to interview. Mm-hmm. That comes off pretty passionate, right? Mm-hmm. And if they get 15 names and they get 2 people that go that extra mile, then that increases your likelihood that you'll get an opportunity to present to them. Right. Right. So, I mean, if you're not going to compete with them, you may as well not even be in the business because they're not going anywhere. We just have to separate ourselves from our competition always. Right. Right. All right. I want to touch on a couple of things. Kathy, are you on the phone? There you are. Did you do your 25 handwritten notes yesterday? I'm unmuted. I muted everybody, so I'll unmute you real fast since I directly talked to you. Kathy, did you do your, why is that not working? All right, let me manage the participant.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. There you go. Okay.
I'm in the car.
That's okay.
I'm on my way to a photo shoot. So, yes, I got them. Well, actually, I'm stopping at the post office on the way to get, because I only had 4 stamps. So I'm stopping at the post office. I took a picture of that. I finished them at 10:27 last night. So I got them all done.
Great work. Do you generally go to bed before 10:27?
I do.
So why did you decide to stay up a little later and make sure that that assignment or that project that you felt was important to you, why did you have to get that done?
Because I said I was going to do it. Now I could have lied and said I got when I got to 21, I thought, oh my gosh, I thought I was done, and I thought I'm tired, but when you lie to yourself, I mean, you can fib and tell other people things, but when you lie to yourself, that's you're lying to your family pretty much.
Man, that was much better than I was expecting. Good job, Kathy.
Oh, thanks.
You're teaching tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
All right. I want to go through a couple of things that are being said from KW. So let's talk about expenses for a second. I know a lot of us don't have huge businesses, but I want you to be really, really aware of any money that you're spending in real estate right now. Right now, I know this just came on the backs of us talking about Bold and investments and all that stuff, but I want you to understand that investing in yourself is probably the best investment that you're going to make. Right? If you go into, let's say you have $1,000, and let's say we had a normal stock market, and the stock market returned, let's say 7 or 8% this year to you, you'd be like, oh, that was a pretty good investment. But if we take that same $1,000 in real estate, a business investment, they say that should be like 300 to 400 times return, right? You should 3 to 4x that investment. So then you would say, well, if I'm a business owner, why would I have any money in the stock market? Right? And this isn't financial advice, but I don't have a ton of exposure to the stock market right now, to be honest. I have a little bit, but I don't have a ton of money in the stock market, right? Because those are things that I don't have any control over, right? I don't get to sit at the board meetings and make decisions on who the leaders are or what decisions they make and how they're responding to these kind of things. I prefer to have my money in areas that I have more control over, right? So I want you to understand that from KWRI, they're suggesting that we analyze every dollar that our business is spending and every dollar that our personal world is spending. And they suggested that we go back and take the last 3 months of our bank statements or credit card statements and try to separate those things into 3 categories: the needed expenses, right? The nice to have expenses, and the I can cut it expenses. And while we're obviously still in times of uncertainty right now, I'm not trying to be fear mongering here, but I do think it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. And I think that you're gonna be better suited by just being very careful about the money that you spend, right? Personally and professionally. So if there are things that you are spending money on that you're not using, I'll give you an example. I have a membership at what's it called? Stephanie, don't give me a look here, but I have a membership at Planet Fitness. It only costs me $10 a month. It doesn't. $10 a month doesn't have a huge effect on me, and I just don't worry about it so much, right? Well, that's a waste of money. I'm not going to the gym, especially for the next couple of weeks, so maybe I should just drop that, right? And I know that we're just talking about little things, but we on a couple of boards that I'm on and calls that I'm on, we got people that have already carved off thousands of dollars from their monthly budget of things they just flat out aren't using or don't feel to be necessary right now. So we are in an unprecedented time, and I would just encourage everyone here to take a couple of minutes at least to sit down with their families and examine all the money they're spending on their business and say, is this absolutely necessary right now? Right? Any thoughts on that?
Yes, I agree with you, and I've already started trying to figure that out. I've reined my son, who's still in college, in, and anyway, I started doing that Sunday after my open house. Oh, I got an offer. The people that
Nice.
said they weren't going to make an offer, I got an offer last night.
How about that? Good
Now,
for you.
they wanted 21 days of due diligence. I've never heard of that. We're not going to allow that. But yeah, we're countering back to them today. So
Very nice.
yeah,
So,
and it wasn't too low. So I was surprised.
when you see something like that, my first reaction is, why are they thinking 21 days is necessary? So let's just say, for example, that's not a brand new agent that didn't know what number to put there. What they may be suggesting is something like, well, I don't know if I can get a home inspection at, that quickly, or something like that, right?
Right.
So you could go in and that's the important thing, is you got to ask that next question, and maybe several next questions, which are, tell me specifically what concerns you here. Right.
Okay.
So if
Yeah.
another example would be like, if somebody says like, well, I'm going to hold off on doing anything. So great. While you're holding off, what information would you like me to provide to you that'll help you move this goal forward? Right. Something of that nature. You got to ask that next deep question, because if they say, well, I'm worried I can't find an inspector, say, great. Why don't we say, I'll send you a list of a couple inspectors that I know are working right now, and the due diligence period will end 5 days after the inspection is done. You cool with that?
Oh, that's good.
Something like that. So
Right.
don't just assume that's the problem, but ask that question, right? Let's figure out what specifically is concerning you about this issue. And probably a good bit of the time, it will be something that it was not on your radar. And
I assumed that it was so because these are the ones that they were going to make an offer. Then they heard the president's address, and so I assumed that it was we have somebody else interested in it, and I assumed it was because they didn't want anybody else to get it right away, and they wanted to tie it up for a while. That's what I assumed. So I do. It's a Keller Williams agent, and the other agent that has clients that are interested in making an offer, they're Keller Williams also. He's a Keller Williams also. So
just a quick sidebar on that is, Kathy, you've been in the business a long time. There are agents that you know at Keller Williams, and agents probably outside of Keller Williams that where if you were ever in a transaction situation with them, you could call them and be like, all right, what is it? What do you need?
Yep. So
Right.
That's what I got it late last night. So after I got it late, and I was trying to finish my notes. It was about 9 o'clock. So I was back and forth with my clients, and I said, let's just sleep on it. I did them several net sheets, and we talked about the 21 days, but I'm going to call Cherie this morning and say, hey, what's going on?
Cherie from the Woodstock office?
No, Cherie Macaroni from Noonan.
Okay. I know a Cherie from the Woodstock office.
Okay.
So what Kathy and I are talking about is when you have relationships with agents, and they know that you're a hard worker, right? They know that you're going to take that extra step to make sure that transaction closes, bulletproof the transaction, right? Then I used to have agents that I could call and say, all right, Lee, I know we're in multiple offers. Just tell me what it's going to take. My client wants the house. And he'd tell me, and I'd win, right? Because he knew me and I knew him, and we trusted each other, and we both knew that we were trying to protect our client. But the fact of the matter is I wanted to work with an agent that was going to do their share, and he wanted to work with an agent that was going to do his share. And so I'd call Lee and say, hey, Lee, all right, what's it going to take? And he'd tell me, and I got it. And then number one is that transaction goes very smoothly because we continue to execute at the level that we're used to executing at, and our clients think that we're awesome. I mean, we are awesome, but it's more evidence that we're awesome, right? Okay. So I want to just remind you, of course, ask, what is it specifically that's concerning you, right? I don't want an open house. Tell me specifically what's concerning you about an open house.
I have.
Yeah, go ahead, Heather.
I'm so sorry, but this is kind of like in regards to Kathy, but also a question I have. If that agent is extending the due diligence or requesting to extend it for 21 days, possibly due to like concerns over COVID, does the stipulation that Melba sent out last night, could that be added to comfort someone's qualms about it?
So that one seems like it would be more for a, that seemed to only address like a delay in closing.
Okay.
That didn't seem to address like a concern with respect to one of the contingency periods.
Okay. So, go ahead.
I said it could be modified slightly to address that stuff.
Okay.
But I think that we all just have to have this understanding that there's going to be some probably COVID related stipulations, and just not to like, there's just so much up in the air right now. Like, you know how we used to say a deal's not closed until the check signed, right? It's definitely the case right now.
Right.
Right. But we need to be bulletproofing our transactions. We need to try to speed up as much as we can. From KWRI, they said you need to do 5 things right now. This is kind of geared towards leadership, but what they said is you need to be lead generating 4 hours a day. You should be on the phone all day long. Lead generating 4 hours a day. Okay. Number 2, bulletproof your transactions. A lot of communication. Everyone that's involved needs to call. Hey, everything okay? Any timelines, any time concerns we need to know about? Any problems that we didn't suspect were happening? What can I do to make sure this thing closes? Right? Number 3, look at your pipeline, right? We want to sell the home as quickly as we can, right? Is this home priced to sell this week? If it's not, it should have a price reduction. Okay. Go to your database. Is there anyone in my database that needs to be called right now just to check in? Hey, it's Stephanie. I'm here for you. Anything you need? Nope. Great. Let me know if anything changes. In the meantime, I got this really cool app while you're sitting at home. Here, check it out. Okay. And number 5, participate in training. So I was speaking to one of us earlier this morning, and I said, I said, essentially the concern was, I don't know that if what I'm doing is moving the needle, right? And I kind of went a little broad, and I said, look, we need to focus on 2 main things: improving the quality of your database and learning, okay? Particularly while we're cooped up at home, right? So learning is going to be everything from scripts to Ramp Up to Ignite to participating in these programs, right? To getting smarter about the profession that you are a part of, right? And secondly, every day you should have a certain amount of time dedicated to being in your database, right? And getting it into command, separating it from people that are Mets or not Mets, or leads or contacts, or people that you want to write a note to, or people that you want to call, and make sure that every day there's more data in the database. Every phone call should be around, can I update data or can I get additional data, right? The more data you have, the better off we'll all be, okay? I sent out a link for KWRI is just doing another full day of online training. That's all on KW Connect. Obviously, all that is free. Just log on, follow that link that I posted on KW Connect. You have to log into my KW, and it's all right there, and it's all free. One thing that I want to touch on too is this idea of mindset. So when I had told you guys in the past that the average real estate agent in Metro Atlanta sells around 3 homes a year. Okay. The average real estate agent in America sells about 6 homes a year. The average real estate agent in America at KW sells 9 homes a year. And the average agent, while I'm thinking about it, at KW that has the MAPS Mastery contract sells 44 homes a year. So with that said, investing in yourself is a pretty good investment, to circle back to that idea. Would you agree? Okay. Now, when an agent sells 3 homes at an average price of, let's just say $300,000, and they pay the tax man and the broker and they pay their monthly fee and all that, they're just, I think maybe somebody will give me some backlash on this, but I just don't think that's the life that they were desiring. right? I think they wanted to sell more than 3 homes. I'm just going to go off of that. And so what I mean is, if and by the way, a buyer, according to NAR, only interviews one agent 66% of the time, and a seller only interviews one agent 70% of the time. So the average Joe, when they wake up and say, I need to speak to a real estate agent, the likelihood of them getting partnered with a relatively unimpressive, unexperienced agent is pretty high, right? Now, what are you going to do about that? What you should be thinking is, this is not about me making a phone call to an expired and say, I'm nervous about calling this expired, or I'm nervous about calling this FSBO, or I'm nervous about reconnecting with this lead from 2 years ago. We need to change the mindset and start thinking about them. Okay? If they don't have us in their life to ensure that they get maximum dollar and minimize the hassle and the stress, and that they have access to the best technology by working with us, and they have access to the best team by working with us, there's a really good chance they're going to leave money on the table. And as a result, we need to start thinking about them when we make the phone call, right? How is this guy going to be impacted when they're in relationship with us? And the more we can get the mindset around thinking about them rather than us, the easier it'll be to make that phone call. And when you start thinking like that, your voice is going to sound different. And what you say is going to be a little different. And the way you say it is going to be a little different. And what's going to end up happening is it's going to come from contribution. It's going to be real and authentic. And as a result, you're going to get better results. Okay. Any thoughts on that? Anyone want to share anything on that?
Well, I've since we've been talking, I've ran in the post office and got my stamps, and I've been sitting here listening to it and putting stamps on it. But it just occurred to me, I'm probably going to have people calling me about, or sending me a text and, saying, hey, I got your note. Thanks so much. So, I mean, even that little things, I hope you're healthy, happy, and safe. What are you going to be doing when you get out, when all of this craziness is over? Have you planned something fun? Hope it involves me. Until then, you're in my thoughts and prayers.
Love it.
And, and I thought, when you were talking about that coming from a place of contribution, that it hit me. I'm probably going to get text. I had not even thought about that. I'm probably going to get text or a phone call saying, thank you so much. And by the way, can you help? Can you help so-and-so? Can you help my mom with something?
Exactly. Now, when you're writing an email, or when you're writing a text, or when you're writing a handwritten note, look at the words you use. A lot of times we use I much more than we think we would. And when we're in the mindset of how is this going to benefit me, you use words like I.
Yeah.
When you're thinking about them, you use different words. And even though somebody might not be able to identify that and recognize that consciously, they read it and they say, this person's concerned about themselves first.
Oh,
right?
Gosh, you just devastated me.
Is your thing full of eyes?
No.
Why did I devastate you?
Because I'm looking at it now, because I took a couple of pictures of them last night.
It's very hard to write a note without saying I will tell you, but you just want to be aware of that. Just, make sure that you're using the mindset. Oh God.
Yeah.
Make sure you're using the mindset of them. Okay. That it's coming from a place of contribution. Kathy, don't even look at it. It's going to ruin your day.
I'm looking at it. I'm already looking at it. But I did. I mean, I really said, hope you are all healthy, happy, and safe. You've all been on my mind so much lately, and that's because you're important to me.
Oh, that's perfect.
I hope that you have something fun planned when all this craziness is over. Until then, so I changed it up a couple of times because I have like parents and then their son, or that I've worked with, and until then, please know you are in my prayers. Much love, Kathy.
Yeah, another way of saying that is I wanted to let you know that I'm thinking about you. I hope that everything that you're doing today is fun, and I will be thinking, I hope to connect with you soon when all this stuff is over. You know, like,
Yeah.
those are you did a really good job. So
Okay.
don't stress about that.
Okay, good. I won't.
So we learned another script. I wanted to, well, I'll end on this. We learned a script. I don't know if you guys were in the room during the woman that came in and did the Asking Powerful Questions class. So
Yes.
I jotted down that script. What, does anyone remember what she said was the best script of all time?
I've got it in my notes.
Heather,
Alright.
you look like you're about to say something.
I don't know where my book is. That's what I was going to say. I got it somewhere.
It was what would have to happen? What would have to happen? Wasn't that it? What would have to happen for you to buy this home?
Mm-hmm.
What would have to happen for you to want to sell this home right now? That just gets right to the heart of it.
Yep.
Right? What is the biggest issue right this moment that I could potentially help you get over, which will help you get what you've already asked for? Right? If I ask somebody out on a date and they say no, I said, what would have to happen for you to go out on a date with me? Well, we'd have to go to this restaurant. Okay, cool. Let's go. Right? What would have to happen for you to choose to list with me? Well, you'd have to guarantee that I would have an open house every week. Okay, I can do that. Right? They'll tell you what it is right there. You'd have to have this type of sign. You'd have to communicate with me once a day. You see what I'm saying? Now you get a chance to say, that's craziness. I'm not going to do that. But you can get right to the heart of the matter. What are everyone's thoughts on that?
I think it's great because, you know, it gives them the stage to be heard and they want to be heard.
I'm really glad you said it that way. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It puts the control into their hands, even though you're still driving the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we're guiding the conversation, but then we're saying basically, I'm going to set up a scenario that allows you to get exactly what you want to get within my world.
Because
and
this
once
is a scary but exciting time for people. And so they don't want to completely forfeit control. Right?
Exactly. They want control more than anything.
Right.
Right. And you might hear some crazy stuff, and that's okay. At least you know what you're working with.
Right.
Right. What would have to happen for you to, you know, oh, Heather, I know we talked about listing the home this weekend, but we're going to wait 3 months because of coronavirus. Well, what would have to happen for you to list now? Oh, well, you would have to be present at all the showings, or you would have to make sure that no one goes in without gloves. All right, cool. No big deal. I'll put some gloves on the front door. Is that all it takes? Great. Here's the paperwork. Sign it. Right. What would have to happen? And by the way, that's an aggressive statement. I don't know if aggressive is the right word. That's an assertive statement. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah,
but guess what, guys? They want an assertive agent, whether they realize it or not.
Right. They
don't want to push over. They've got their biggest investment they've ever had, most likely, in your hands potentially. They want somebody who's going to be strong. Right? What would have to happen is a very powerful statement.
Well, they want a leader.
They want a leader. They want somebody to lead them in this transaction.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want to push over. They're hiring you because they need an expert. They don't need a friend.
And if I could add to this, part of that question is such a good question. Part of that question, though, when they start reciting what would have to happen on their end, and then you start saying, well, you know, I could do this for you. And, you know, then you're like, well, that's not a little, you know, we can push it from, you know, talking every day to every 48 hours or something. You're now negotiating and you're showing them your negotiation skills.
Yeah, I like that too.
For them.
You know, when I was doing a lot of recruiting, I would have these conversations too. So what would have to happen for you to join this month? And they, I mean, we would get things that were just, in my opinion, kind of silly.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, you'd have to waive the first office bill. Okay. Sign here.
Darn, I didn't do that.
Right? We can't give incentives for KW transfers.
I'm kidding.
But they'd say, oh, well, you'd need to waive the onboarding fee, or you would need to, I mean, these are experienced agents I'm talking about, right? You would need to buy me a sign. All right, we can do that. Sign here. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a, you're going to get to the heart of the objection right away. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I'm going to ask a couple really quick housekeeping items. Please make sure that you are still communicating with your accountability partner, and you are telling your accountability partner what promises you are making yourself, and you're going to commit to yourself, like Kathy said, not to lie to yourself. Okay, lying to yourself ain't helping anybody. It's definitely not
I like
helping,
that one too.
it's definitely not helping your family. Okay. I was in a room with Mo Anderson. I'll just tell you a really quick personal story. Our ALC was coached by Mo Anderson, who was took over the CEO of Gary back in the early 90s, and is still on the vice chairman of the board. And our ALC in Roswell was coached by her like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And we sat in the big conference room up front, and all she wanted to talk about was profit share, by the way. And she had all of our printouts, and she went around the room and she's like, Bill, you have 2 people in your downline. Why are you cheating your family like that? Right? Barry, you have 1 person in your downline. You're a family cheater. And she went around the room, and Tom Curtin was in the room at the time. And she said, Tom, you got 15 people in your downline. You're the only person that cares about their family. And I left that room and I was like, what the hell did that woman just do? Right? However, I then said, I'm not going to cheat my family. Right? I got a young marriage. I got a young child, and my family deserves this opportunity. Right? And so I'm going to put together a plan where I take advantage of this opportunity, and I'm not going to let anybody tell me to stop. Does that make sense? So when you want something bad enough, you're going to put together the plan. You're going to make sure you have the appropriate amount of time to execute on that plan in your calendar, and you're not going to lie to yourself. Right? We all have the same 24 hours. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So tell your accountability partner what you want. What is it that you desire? Why did you get into this business? What type of income do you want to make? Or where do you want to vacation? Or how many people do you want to add to your database today? Whatever it is. And ask them to hold you accountable. Right? For a while, we have an agent in the office who, she was going through some kind of mental health challenges, if you will. And we kind of got back to the root of it all. And what we determined is that she was really into exercise, but she hadn't been exercising lately. Right? And as a result, she was not doing so well. Right? And she was thinking a lot of weird stuff. And we got back to the root of it all. And we agreed that we would text each other a picture of our feet on the floor at 6 a.m. every day. And at that time, I wasn't really waking up at 6 a.m. But I could tell how important it was to her. And she was asking me to be her accountability partner in somewhat of a vague way. And so I took that and I said, all right, I'll be your accountability partner. I could probably benefit from waking up that early. And I started waking up that early. Right? I took a picture of my feet on the floor out of bed and texted it to her every morning. Or I took a picture of my Fitbit with the number of steps that I had done that morning. You see what I'm saying? And she can't lie to herself. And when she sends me that picture, I can't lie to myself either. So ask for some strong, high accountability, okay? All right, in summary, what would have to happen for blank, blank, blank? Ask specifically what is it that these people are having an issue with? What are they concerned about? What are they curious about, etc. Be vague if you need to. Hey, let's get together and talk about opportunities in the marketplace right now. Does anyone think there's opportunities in the marketplace?
Yeah.
I think so too. Right? There's lots of opportunities in the marketplace. So let's talk about opportunities. And then when you get to them, say, tell me a little bit about what you're thinking. And essentially what they're going to tell you is what they're worried about or what they're excited about. And then you get to tailor your experience or the experience through that lens, through that filter, right? All right, guys, we got a week full of, we got a number of things going on today. Got a couple things later in the week. We got all the KWRI trainings. Make sure you are framing your activities around how is this going to help my client, not yourself. Watch your expenses, please. I'm telling you, we are in a shift. Okay. What I would love to do is I'll give you a couple days to do this if you're cool with this, but I want you to read tactic number 1 in the shift book. It's the first 28 pages of the book. Okay. Or you can look for it online. I'll look on YouTube and see if I can find a link for it.
Did you say tactic 1?
Tactic 1. Tactic 1. First 28 pages of the book. It's get real, get right, mindset and action. Everything we're doing right now should be active, right? How can we create activity? How can we go give a message to somebody that in 3 weeks is going to send us a referral, like Charleston? See what I'm saying?
We should do a book club.
All right, Heather, we're going to start with shift. You're in charge of the next book, okay?
Okay. No, that's what I mean. We should start with shift and talk about it, during the week.
I agree. 100%. 100%. Charleston, you excited, huh? That's the biggest smile I've ever seen on you.
I was like, great.
Hey,
I'm gonna have to get that book on tape.
I'll read you another line and we'll end with this: is if you treat it like a hobby, it will pay you like a hobby.
That's right.
Right.
All good stuff this morning.
All right. Any questions? Any issues? Any problems?
Yes. No questions. Kind of just let you know, I probably won't be anything between 12 and 2:30 because I have the Keller Offers training today at 2.
Oh, me
from
too.
12 to 2:30. All right. Hey, shout out.
1 second, guys.
Susan, I am thankful for good
Okay.
night sleep because
Y'all have a great day. I'll see you in a bit.
last time I woke up feeling
All right then. Bye bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
been probably
Good night's sleep is a great thing.